Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Michael Gibbons, representing the people of the 15th Senate District, to present Senate Bill 711. This is legislation that has a singular focus, which is to protect property taxpayers from tax increases caused by reassessment. The way we achieve it, there's three basic provisions in this bill that address that. First is it requires a mandatory rollback. There's a lot of confusion about that. The Hancock Amendment does provide for a rollback of tax rates. However, it only applies in the circumstance where a taxing district is at their voter-approved ceiling. If they are below that ceiling, voluntarily at some point chose to go to a lower level, there is no mandate to roll back. I personally think that in a year where there's significant value increases, they have a moral obligation to roll back, but they have no legal requirement, no statutory or constitutional basis for doing that. This bill would impose that. Secondly, it deals with a situation that I think is also, it's a disservice to taxpayers because it violates a basic premise that there should be truth in advertising when you're promoting a tax levy increase. And voters approve it, yet here's what can happen. Say a taxing district passes a new levy in 2006, and let's just to make up a number, 18-cent levy. They, under the way things are currently, could choose to apply that rate, full rate, 18 cents, in 2007. So in addition to the 18 cents the voters approved, based on the assessed valuation in place at the time they voted, that taxing district would also gain the benefit of whatever increase was caused by reassessment. In St. Louis County, just as an example, for residential property owners, it was 22%. So you get the 18 cents the voters approved plus an additional 22% because of reassessment. I think that's wrong. It defeats the purpose of voters being knowledgeable, knowing what they're getting into, and if people choose to impose a tax upon themselves, so be it. But they didn't choose to impose, they didn't vote for 18 cents plus 22% additional, or in that instance, 23 cents. So this would require that the assessed valuation in effect at the time it passes is what the new rate will be applied to. Some districts now are starting to have a phased-in levy, where the voters approve a new levy that goes in stages over time. Those individual stages would always go back to the year of the assessed valuation when it started. So there's the second point. The third thing is that we really want the taxpayers to be informed about what's going on, because this whole process in the roughly 23 years of its existence has been full of confusion and misunderstanding. So what this bill does is we move up the dates a little bit, and we've worked with various we have different class counties, different offices within counties who deal with these things and try to accommodate their concerns, but the purpose of it is to move everything as early as possible and to put in the hands of the taxpayers, when they receive notice of a new value, also a notice of what their projected tax liability will be. And with a mandatory rollback, you can achieve that. And then the taxpayers know early, hopefully February or March, that not only what their new value would be, but also what their projected tax liability will be, so they can plan for it. Oftentimes, with a mandatory rollback, if you have say property values go up 22% and the rates come down 22% offset for inflation, we still keep that aspect of the Hancock Amendment of inflation not to exceed 5%, then they may find, well, gee, I didn't realize my house went up that much, but I think it's about right, and the tax rates have come down. I can see how each taxing district has done that, and my tax burden is about the same as it was last year. So they know where they are, where they stand, they can prepare. If it's something different, they know well in advance of the deadline for filing appeals to know what the full impact of reassessment is. I think that in many instances it will reduce the numbers of appeals, and I think at a minimum, at least taxpayers will know what's happening, why it's happening, who's responsible, and can take appropriate action.
Senator Gibbons' bill puts teeth back in the Hancock Amendment. Why those teeth were ever lost in the first place is beyond my comprehension. I vote in what I believe to be moral people into elected office. If their decisions are driven by that morality, then they would not opt to raise taxes by more than the Hancock intends. They would take the intent of a constitutional amendment voted in by the people seriously. They would not look for loopholes to get around something that took so much effort to put into law in the first place. The fact that they have been able to raise taxes through a legal loophole does not make it right.
Reading the bill and reviewing the bill, there are some components that mentioned by the senator that we certainly are happy to see and in support of. One of the most asked questions we have as assessors is in regard to tax rates or any type of movement along those lines that we can better educate the taxpayers and answer their questions and concerns. We're going to support those. Increasing the property tax credit, that is probably the largest block of phone calls and questions that we have is in regard to increasing property tax credit. So again, consideration of increasing that is certainly welcomed by the Missouri Assessors Association, and the extending the sunset of the 1/8 of 1% withholding for 2015 is going to allow assessors to continue to make strides to do their jobs better educate the taxpayers, and we look forward to the committee's endorsing that aspect of the bill as well. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, there are a few slight concerns that the Assessors Association has, and certainly first-class counties have. The first being the portion of the bill that requires that we turn the certify the assessment book on April the 15th. Currently, that date is May the 31st. Actually, by statute, it's May 15th, but we can get a 2-week extension to May 31st. And so we're looking at a 6-week, smaller portion of time to work with. And that's going to pose some challenges that we're going to have to overcome.